Hi, and welcome to Sergeant Dorsey Speaks. I'm a retired 20-year veteran sergeant of the Los Angeles Police Department, and today I'll be sharing a very graphic video with you that involves a police chase and a shooting. I'm going to be discussing with you tactics that the officers used leading up to the deadly use of force as well as the actual shooting. So I'm going to deputize you guys. I'm going to tell you what I want you to look at, and then we're going to talk about it on the other side of the video. This occurred in New Haven, Connecticut, and there was a 19-year-old young man who allegedly had carjacked someone at knife point, and then the chase was on. Police were pursuing him. I believe there may have been a traffic collision or two, and then you'll see when this thing comes to its conclusion, the officers use what we call here in California a pit maneuver, where they strike the rear of the vehicle in an attempt to have it spin out of control, and then hopefully the vehicle is disabled and officers will engage the driver. That's what happened. Look for what we're going to talk about, which is, let me know if you see a need for deadly use of force based on immediate defense of life, idle. That's what police officers are taught and trained, certainly here on the LAPD, and I'm sure it's very similar to what officers are taught around the nation. Deadly force is only to be used as a last resort when everything else has failed, and it's in the immediate defense of the officer's life or the life of another. Let's look for that. Here's a video, and I'm warning you, it's graphic.
Medium left off 43.
Get out of the car! Get out of the car! Jackson! Go to taser! Taser! He's got a knife! Drop the knife! Drop the knife! It's out of his hands, it's on his lap. I got the knife. It's on the hood. Pull him out. Jackson, go to taser! Taser! He's got a knife! Drop the knife! Drop the knife! It's out of his hands, it's on his lap. I got the knife. It's on the hood. Pull him out. car! Get out of the car! Jackson! Go to taser! Taser!
So you've had a chance to take a look at the video. You see it from several different angles from the different vehicles that were driven by the police officers that night. And this is 19-year-old Mubarak Soulemane. Now listen, I understand that he was involved in a felony, carjacking, robbery. It's a felony. I get it. He used a knife. When you look at the tactics that the officers used once they finally were able to stop the vehicle, they surrounded it with their cars. It appears that he's not able to drive off because the car is surrounded by police cars. You could see that there was a little minor collision. There was a little damage to the white car that Mubarak was driving. So officers jump out, everybody's amped up, adrenaline is running. I get it. What I don't get is you have officers on the passenger as well as driver's side of the car. Everybody's got guns drawn, and now as I look at the tactics that the officers are using, this is where the phrase that I like to use and refer to, the phrase that I trademarked, contempt of cop, comes into play, because Mubarak made them chase him. Mubarak had committed a felony. Mubarak had stolen a car at knife point. He's got to pay for that. And now he's not responding to the officers' commands, and I imagine that the scene was very chaotic. I imagine that officers from all sides of the vehicle were yelling at him, whatever, get out, get up, get down. I'm sure it was very confusing. And it's reported from the family that Mubarak is schizophrenic. So I imagine there was a lot going on in his head as well, right? Knowing all of that as a backdrop, did you see any immediate defense of life? Did you see anything that would cause an officer to fire the way State Trooper, let me make sure I get his name right, Brian North did into that vehicle? That was about punishment. That was about, you pissed me off, contempt of cop, and now there's a price to pay. Crossfire was an issue. Officers surrounding the car. We know that on the passenger side, officers were trying mightily to break the window out. because Mubarak is not responding. He's not getting out. And they know that he had a knife in the commission of the crime. And at some point, they see that knife either in his hand, in his lap. But listen, the windows were up on the car. So what's the immediate defense of life? The windows are up. Was he going to, throw the knife through the window? Was this a knife that breaks glass, cuts glass? What was the immediate defense of life? The officers clearly could have just calmed down if there were a cooler head in the group, and there were 3 officers there. 2 had 4.5 years. The shooter, Trooper Brian North, another trooper named Joshua Jackson, and then there was a trooper first class by the name of Ross Dalling. He had 7.5 years. 7.5 years? You wouldn't think that maybe he might have enough sense. He's a trooper first class, sounds higher than a trooper. He would have had the sense that God gave a goat to tell those others to stand down, calm down, relax. Let's take a deep breath. What's the hurry? What's the urgency? He's going nowhere. We've hit his car. It's possibly even disabled and not drivable. And then you see Brian North. He's intent. He's focused. He's singularly focused. He probably had tunnel vision at that point. And he's looking into the driver's side window as he stands right outside the driver's side window. So he couldn't have been too fearful because he wouldn't have put himself so close to the driver with a knife with the window up. And then he just fires rapidly into the vehicle, shattering the driver's door glass, and then ultimately, I'm sure, killing Mubarak. And then what do you hear Brian North do? He starts barking out commands. Drop the knife, drop the knife. He tells everybody, I see a knife. Drop the knife, drop the knife. I've shared with you before that police officers understand that there's a recording. They're creating an audio record. So later on, they can say, whatever. He had a knife, he was coming at me. In this instance, they don't say that, but what they do say is that there was an altercation. I didn't see any altercation, did you? They said that Mubarak had been tasered. Well, that was true, but he was tasered from the passenger side of the vehicle. I don't even know if the taser struck him. I don't know if the taser was effective. But what I'm guessing is after Brian North fired all those rounds through the driver's side door, dropping a knife wasn't anything that was going to happen. I believe that he was probably dead at that point. So there's a big investigation. The family wants Trooper Brian North fired, obviously. There's due process, and so there's some things and steps that have to occur before that happens, if it's going to happen at all. I'll keep you posted. I'll monitor this situation. Brian North, for the time being, is inside on the desk. He's not dealing with folks out on the street. That's a good thing. At 4.5 years, I don't know if Brian North is going to live to offend again. In other words, will he keep his job? I'll keep you posted as this thing progresses with regards to what's going to happen administratively as well as criminally. Thank you for watching Sergeant Dorsey Speaks. If you want to support our mission, Survive Police Encounters, you can do so via Cash App or Venmo, Sergeant Dorsey Speaks. You can also purchase my autobiography on my website, sergeantdorseyspeaks.com. Black and Blue, The Creation of a Social Advocate. If you purchase my autobiography on my website, I'll send you a signed copy. If you prefer just to have a regular garden variety copy, you can get Black and Blue, The Creation of a Social Advocate at Amazon.com. Until next time, family, be good and be safe.